Change your mind music. Brother Jacob back. Book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 30. Faithful is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord shall be praised. Yeah, Israel. So-called black Hispanic Indian Americans. Hey, repentance. That's the kind of woman you want. Yeah. Faithful is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth.
Turkey kielbasa soup. So you want to get 1 bag of 16 bean soup mix, and that equals to about 2 cups of dry beans, and you want to get 8 cups of water in a main pot with a half a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. Once you get this, you want to mix that salt in there, and then you're going to transfer those dried beans, the 2 cups of dried beans here, to the pot. We're going to boil that for about 10 minutes on high heat. Then you're going to turn off the stove, transfer everything in here, including the water, into another bowl, let it cool, and let it sit overnight so that the beans can soak and swell and get soft. So you don't want to dump the water. You want to keep the water in there. After 10 minutes, let the pot cool off, then transfer everything into another bowl. Let it sit overnight for 24 hours and let the beans get soft after you mix this together. Then the next day you want to take it out, use a strainer, and drain all the liquid out of it, because you're going to put these beans back into the main pot with a new 8 cups of water so we can start the recipe. It's a good idea to put a lid on it. And so once it's boiled 10 minutes, you transfer it to a bowl, let it sit overnight, and then the next day, take the bowl out, like right here, pour it through a strainer, and the water is going to be dark. That's normal because that's just the color coming off the beans. Then you want to inspect the beans because you're getting ready to put it back in the main pot the next day with 8 cups of new water. You want the heat on low because you want to simmer, because you're going to be preparing some other ingredients while you do this. But you want to give this a head start. And then you want to add 2 cups of cauliflower rice to that main pot with 2 tablespoons of homemade seasoned salt and a half a cup of organic barbecue sauce, because it doesn't have any corn syrup in it. You want to mix that all together, and this is on very low heat just for it to simmer, so it gives you time to get the other ingredients together, because you're going to be sauteing some celery, carrots, and onions in another pan while this is simmering. So I'm going to put a lid on this and let this simmer on low. And we're going to get another pan and put 2 to 3 tablespoons of grapeseed or olive oil in the pan on medium heat. And we're going to chop up 1 onion, and then we're going to put it in a frying pan and cook that first. We're going to let that be the first thing. Then we're going to add the 2 cups of celery and 2 cups of carrots. So you want to cook this until this gets like a light brown. That's my cue. Once it gets to a light brown color, that's my cue to add the 2 cups of celery and the 2 cups of chopped carrots. Now what I did was I got baby carrots and just cut them up. And I took 1 celery stalk and chopped it up so it could, accumulate to 2 cups. So you see how I'm stirring it around? I just want to make sure it doesn't stick. And so that's been like maybe 2 minutes, and I'm going to put the celery and the carrots together now. Mix it in there with the onions. You see? So this part right here will take about 15 minutes. You just keep mixing everything around on medium heat. So I'm mixing the onions up with the carrots and the celery. I'm not putting anything on it, no salt, no nothing, because the main pot has all the ingredients. You don't want to put too much salt in things, because even if you're using the right kind of salt, like sea salt or Himalayan salt, you don't want to put too much of it up there for your family. And this looks great. So the carrots won't get tender at this point when it's in the frying pan, because you don't want to cook it too long, because you know it's going to go right into the main pot and it's going to be able to cook slowly. So I'm inspecting it now, see how it looks. Is it ready yet before I transfer it to the main pot? And it looks like I want to cook it a little longer. And that looks great because celery is really good for you, so are carrots and onions. And so I'm just kind of looking, saying, okay, it could be golden brown before I put it in the pot because it'll turn out much better. And, you know, using a wood spoon is best. You can kind of move things around, but whatever you prefer. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to take this pot and transfer the ingredients into the main pot. So this is a good time. And then I'm going to mix it together and add it to the ingredients. Because we have one more step. We're going to chop up organic turkey kielbasa that has sea salt in it. If you can find something like that, that's great. If you can only find turkey kielbasa and you're trying to get rid of the salt, boil it in a pot of water for an hour, then take it out, then cut it up and put it in the pot and stir fry it and then add it to the main pot. But I was able to find one that was organic that came with sea salt, so I didn't have to do that. But another way is you can boil turkey kielbasa that has regular salt in it in some water. Boil it for an hour, you boil the salt out of it. Then you cook it like this. You chop it up and cook it like this. And then you get rid of that salt. So that looks great. So now I'm just going to cook this until it's like a roasted golden brown. And you'll see it as I check it after like 10 minutes or so. See how it looks now? It looks kind of roasted. That's what you want. And it has a really nice aroma to it, like a hickory smoke. So I'm going to transfer this to the main pot because it's ready now, because it's going to cook more in this pot anyway. So now when you see it boiling like this in the main pot, now I have it on medium heat. All right. So I put 2 dashes of Tabasco sauce in there. And that doesn't have a lot of salt in it, like 30 milligrams. So that's really good for the family. And I'm inspecting it now, making sure it's not sticking to the bottom. Because I had it simmering for a half an hour. Now I'm turning it up after a half an hour to medium so it could boil. And I'm going to add the kielbasa. That's the last ingredient. See? And so I'm going to mix this together, and then I want to cook it for another half an hour so that this sauce can thicken. So half of it will be, boiled out of it, and the sauce will thicken. Right now it's a little watery. And if you cook it until it's like really thick, you won't see much fluid at the top. And you can test it out by your spoon. If it looks really soupy, take the lid off and let it cook for half an hour, or cook it with the lid on for 15 minutes. Then take off the lid for the last 15 minutes, and then that should do it. So I'm checking it again. This is after a half an hour. So this whole process took an hour to do. So it's pretty good right now. I'm expecting to see if it looks watery because it is a stew. And it's really good. And it has a nice barbecue taste to it with seasoning salt mixed to it. I'm going to let it cook for another 10 minutes. And now I see that it's thickened, but it still has the broth in it, and it's really good. So at this point, this is done. And you can serve this with a garden salad and some homemade unleavened bread. You see, that looks great. So I'd like to thank you for watching this recipe. I hope you enjoy it and put your own little twist to it. All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High, and Christ blessed. Shalom.
Change Your Mind Music, Brother Jacob is back. Book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 30. Faithful is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord shall shall be praised. Yeah, Israel. So-called black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Hey, repentance. That's the kind of woman I want. Yeah. Faith is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears